everyone, and thank you for joining us here on the Recruitment Roundup podcast, which is brought to you by BMS Performance. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, BMS Performance is a specialist sales and marketing recruitment consultancy. For the last 30 years, we've been helping businesses across the UK recruit for vacancies at every level. I'm your host, Mike Leather, and every week I'll be joined by a new guest where we'll get stuck into the latest trends in regards to recruitment. We'll talk about insights, we share ideas, we share experiences, and ultimately we look to provide value to fundamentally help you, whether or not you're a hiring manager, a business leader, or part of an internal talent team, to recruit smarter, faster, and more effectively. So welcome back everyone to another episode of the Recruitment Roundup. I'm your host, Mike Leather.
I'm the co-host, Sam Musiarira.
And today we're going to be part 2 of our mini-series on effective onboarding and how to on sales professionals effectively. For those of you that haven't listened to the previous episode, please go and check it out. In that episode, we covered the first 3 pillars, which was the prep before that person actually starts to get them through the door. But to also make sure that initial welcome and that first introduction to the business is a positive one. We talked about training, didn't we, Sam? And we also talked about setting goals and milestones. We felt this was particularly important at this time of year as companies are rushing to get people started before Christmas, but also get people onboarded just after Christmas. And with the Christmas parties and Christmas season, all the rest of it, it can all feel like a bit of a rush. So we thought this would be a good mini-series to put out there. But Sam, do you want to talk around the 3 pillars and the other subject that we're going to speak about today?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So really excited to get stuck in with the other 3 pillars that we, have come up, which will hopefully effectively onboard as many successful sales people as possible. So following up on the 3 that we had last week, we're going lovely into point number 4, which is around cultural integration. I always struggle with pronouncing that one. Hopefully I've got it up. So cultural integration, right? I think, Mike, going into sort of teams and getting someone onboarded to really fit in and feel like they fit in, well, not just with the team culture but the organizational culture. It's just so important to make sure that we've got a plan to be able to integrate who we recruit into our organization effectively to get them feeling as part of that culture as soon as possible. So there's definitely some ideas that we have around that I think would be able to add value to anyone looking to join a company and companies that what they could be looking to doing to make the process as seamless as possible. But it's definitely something that's really key. And I think the key thing is to and this would start immediately. We said the recruitment process doesn't end when the person joins, it's even before. So I think the key things are going to be looking to just introduce any new hire into the organization as quickly as possible to ultimately just learn the company values and the team dynamics swiftly as possible, right? So it's just those introductions and perhaps even going above that and seeing if there's an opportunity to maybe pair people up, people within either in a similar role or
mentors. Yeah,
absolutely. So, getting a buddy, having a sort of a buddy system, because, if you've got people that have maybe joined at the same time, that tends to work quite well. But then if you've got someone that will be joining on their own, maybe having someone that they can look up to as a mentor, to be able to support that ongoing development piece. I know that's something that's always helped me on the back of, the companies that I've joined in the past. And I think the quicker that we can do something like that, the more effectively someone can feel part of not just the team culture, the organizational culture. All of this adds on to that positive psyche for anyone who's being recruited.
Yeah, I liked what you said about the person before they start, in the sense of that they should be getting familiar with the culture as well, because you've got an understanding of the culture through the recruitment process, and then how you treated before you join. So then when you join the business, it should feel as easy as possible. I think there's the small things that go unnoticed.
Yeah.
When you're helping someone integrate into the culture when they first
Yeah.
start, and it's about the leader and the
Yeah.
rest of the team making a real effort. So these are things, if you're working remotely, they might sound really small, but the small things count, I think.
Yeah.
You know, making sure that everyone reaches out to that person to say hello,
Absolutely.
welcome. Yeah, that's key. It doesn't always happen, does it?
Yeah,
I
of course.
think as well, you know, little things like going out for lunch
Yeah.
together, making sure that they're not on their own at
Yeah.
dinner, that they're
Yeah.
around people,
Yeah.
that they're starting to feel like they're part of an environment, but also the company being able to articulate really clearly, like, what are the business values, what do they
Yeah.
mean, why are they there,
Yeah.
and really giving a good outline of what the culture is, because it's important when someone comes in. Yes, you want to make them feel all comfortable
Yeah.
and that they can fit in as soon as possible, but they've also
Yeah.
got to understand how things are done, like,
Yeah.
and why they're done.
Yeah.
And the ownership of that sits with the leaders and with the people that they're going to be working with. So I think, yeah, cultural integration piece can be all the things that you've said, but it's also
Yeah.
the really, really small things, the little
Yeah.
check-ins, making sure, you know, how you're feeling, how's it going, how do you feel,
Yeah.
who you're integrating, who
Yeah.
your relationships with,
Yeah.
breaks, dinners, all that sort of stuff. It makes people
Yeah.
integrate, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, no, I absolutely agree, Mike. And obviously, as humans, we're big on community, right?
Mm.
Everyone wants to, feel part of it. And the quicker that we can get people feeling part of the team, and yes, just going that extra mile. I know when I joined BMS, it's just the little things of like people just even sending you a LinkedIn request, say,
Yeah,
"Hi, look forward to working with you."
yeah,
You'd be amazed how much of a positive feel that has. 'Cause it's like, oh, I can't wait for that. I can't
yeah,
wait to feel part of that team, right? So the more things that we could do to make sure that we're either providing either mentorship or going out for lunch, or if your office has a tennis table, getting that a person
yeah.
included as
Everyone's
well.
got one of them.
Yeah, we just want to get people feeling included, and that whole
Yeah,
sense of community really really drives a positive impact, in my opinion.
that's
So
a really
yeah,
good point. Yeah,
good
really,
stuff.
really good points. Cool. So the next subject we're going to talk about is technology. Like, most businesses
Yeah,
are full on with tech. I know we are. A lot of systems, not just CRMs, but there's, yeah, sales enablement platforms.
yeah,
Um, I don't know if you would count this, but sending voice notes and videos as
yeah,
using technology. So there's
yeah,
some technology enablement going on there,
absolutely.
but it can be really confusing, I think, for people if they come into a role whereby there's different systems to use and they don't understand what those systems are used for
Yeah.
and how it can benefit them. What are your thoughts?
I think that's bang on the money, right? And if you think about some of the people, depending on the types of role or depending on the kinds of experience, if we are recruiting people that perhaps haven't used, a CRM before, or perhaps haven't had the opportunity to, you touched on voice note or any video kind of technology, the quicker that we can get people, using these resources, but also feeling confident and comfortable, it'll make a real difference. So it's important to have a focus on that tech stack, making sure that people, know how to use it as effectively as possible. So that training element of it, and then being able to understand, why we use these tools and how they can make a positive result for you within your role. I absolutely agree with that, Mike.
Every business has got will have like champions of
Yeah,
using different systems.
yeah,
There'll be some people who use a CRM really well to find
yeah,
leads and data. Some people that
yeah,
are very compliant with it. There'll be other people that use a particular technology that
mhm,
helps them drive engagement in the sales process.
yeah,
I think if you identify those champions and go back to
yeah,
the last point where we were talking
yeah,
buddies,
yeah,
identify them as champions and then
yeah,
align the person with them. Because also, um, depending at the level that you're recruiting at, a lot of grads and people that are straight out of uni are going to be more tech enabled than someone like, me potentially,
yeah,
who I am pretty tech enabled, I would say, but probably nowhere near as much as what a grad would be. So it's
Yeah.
catering for the learning style of the person that you're recruiting, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
And what have they done before? How have they used tech? What have they enjoyed? What haven't they enjoyed? What did they find challenging? And then bespoke in that onboarding from the actual tech piece so that the person can then get up and running with it and learn in the way that they learn it. It just comes back to understanding the person that you're
Yeah.
bringing on, doesn't it? And then building the bespoke training program a lot around that. But it can't just be like a one size fits all. This
Yeah.
I use this technology, shown them once, off
Yeah.
they go.
Yeah.
You need a champion, I think,
Yeah.
need someone to
Yeah.
just be doing them role plays with them, just checking actually what they're doing with the tech as well
Yeah. Yeah.
to make sure it's being done correctly as well,
Yeah.
opposed to like I interviewed someone this morning for BMS and she'd started a new role and within 3 days she was just told to like crack on and
Wow.
use the systems, sell the products, and it wasn't really what she signed up for.
Yeah.
And she'd been there a couple of months and it's the onboarding that
Yeah.
is her real reason for leaving, because the onboarding's been very poor and therefore she
Yeah.
feels like the the company has acted without integrity.
Yeah.
But she's been told to use these systems and
Yeah.
really know how to use them. That's
Yeah.
making her unhappy.
That's
So
fair
just
enough.
yeah.
No, that's fair enough. As a salesperson, the last thing you want to do is be hung out to dry. But what I've really taken away from that point, Mike, is I love that having internal champions, because some of these internal champions within tech probably excel within tech, and they might. And it's all about, if we work back to our interview process, and if we find out, this person that we're looking to bring in, on the looking at the level of the role that it is, and we found out what their learning style is, we found out what challenges that they've had, and we could think ahead for when this person comes in day one. We're going to pair them up with Mike, who's our tech expert. You can imagine how well that will help that person hopefully hit the ground running. So it's almost working backwards to think forward to make sure that we are creating a successful
backwards
environment.
to think forward. You should coin that phrase. That's a good one. That it's good. It's good.
Good stuff. Good
What was
stuff.
the next point on the list?
Yeah, it actually goes. It's a lovely segue to the back on the point that you've had. It's just ongoing support, and it's just such an important thing that I suppose people perhaps take for granted. Going back on the example that you've given, Mike, in terms of someone being trained on a CRM once, within 3 days, and being told, go on, crack on and sell all the products and services that we provide. Is that person going to be successful? So we got to make sure that when we recruit someone to effectively onboard them, we need to provide consistent ongoing support. So when I think about what that could look like, you want to be, ensuring that there's opportunity for daily check-ins as an absolute minimum. If someone that we're onboarding someone, maybe remotely, what could we create a plan around maybe having that happen, a couple of times in the morning and the afternoon. We're making sure that we are providing, regular feedback, checking to find what's on that person's agenda. So really making sure that we are creating an environment where this person isn't isolated. And the way that we want to do that is we're increasing as many touch points when someone starts by providing, lots of check-ins, but also opportunities to train, opportunities to get better. You've touched on the role plays, right? So opportunities to be able to create and replicate real life scenarios from a sales point of view, from a questioning point of view, to try and just mimic those real life scenarios, so that when this person's going to be going out into the field, they've been provided that opportunity and that platform to be able to learn and make mistakes. And so the more check-ins, the more effectively we can do this, more consistently we can do this, we're going to increase the chances of someone being successful. So I don't know what your thoughts are in terms
I
of
think the
those
word
check-ins.
check-ins a good one, because it doesn't have to be like you've got an agenda for every regular check-in that you have with someone. It can just simply be, how's it going? How you feeling? Give someone an opportunity to give you a bit of a download on the day. I mean, if you've got a brand new starter in sales, certainly if you're recruiting someone who is in a junior sales role, if there's not a one-to-one every day to make sure they're on the right path, they're focused in the right direction, and we're not doing a role play or some form of coaching every day, I'd probably suggest that we're not supporting them well enough. I think because of the environment and cultural aspect that we working overall now.
Yeah.
I think intensive support
Mhm.
can also be misdemeanored and
Yeah.
as micromanagement
Yeah.
as well. And I think some sales leaders don't want to be thought of as micromanagers when
Mhm.
they're not. They're just providing
Yeah.
lots of support and
Yeah.
coaching. So I think there's something in that as well. That
Yeah.
goes back to explaining what that onboarding is going to be like before it
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
starts too, because we're recruiting people because we want them to be successful. They want to be successful. We all want to do well in our careers, earn lots of money. And this onboarding, it's absolutely crucial, isn't it?
Yeah.
You basically think of it, you've got what is a child in some instances,
Yeah.
if you take the analogy, and we're trying to teach them everything they need to
Yeah.
know to be a high functioning member of society when they're an adult.
I
But
love that.
if we don't get it right in the child,
Yeah.
and they grow up with a skewed version of what the world is,
Yeah.
then they're probably not going to be a high
Right.
performing, high
Yeah.
functioning
Yeah.
adult. But all this starts with the onboarding. So we
Yeah.
think of it like that, and that's the way I
Yeah.
think about it. We've got a
Yeah.
baby or a child in the
Yeah.
nicest possible way, and we've got to teach them and coach them what it
Yeah.
means to be a high performing
Yeah.
adult in sales. Then like that can only happen with like these regular check-ins and just
Yeah.
constantly providing continuous training
Yeah.
opportunities, challenging, coaching, one-to-ones, role plays, all the
Yeah.
rest of it.
Yeah.
Because people will feel like they've had a good onboarding
Yeah.
if they can feel that their leader or their mentors, whoever it might be, are invested in helping them.
Yeah.
And they don't just feel like they've just, like you said before, they've been hung out to dry. They feel like they've got a lot of coaching, a lot of support. Like that's when they feel like the onboarding's been
Yeah.
a success, because they feel like they're working for a company that's invested in them.
Yeah. It's brilliant. It's brilliant, Mike. I love that analogy, right? Yeah, that's couldn't have done. That's world class, world class. So we thought we'd round it off just going through, some mistakes, common mistakes to avoid.
Yeah.
So I'll go first. Mike, we can, go through these. I mean, taking it back, there is that tendency of looking to overload new hires with loads of information too quick. So that example that you gave, Mike, in the sense of here's a CRM, you learn this day one, go out there and sell. Is that the best way to be able to get someone onboarded? Is a day quick enough? That's too much information within a short amount of time. So point number one, simple, straightforward, avoid overloading new hires with information too quickly.
Yeah. Make them feel overwhelmed. Overwhelm isn't a good feeling.
Yeah,
Especially
absolutely.
when you just started a job.
Yeah.
They should feel a bit brain frazzlement, but that's normal. But
Yeah.
it comes back, doesn't it, to the onboarding plan? And we talked in the first episode of this mini series about getting the balance right between theory and practical.
Yeah.
I think when you overload them with too much information, the balance is wrong, because you've got the theory really heavy. And we just keep talking about learning styles, don't we, as well? Like, are they a doer? If they're a doer, then you probably don't need as much theory.
Yeah.
A little bit, let them go. A little bit, let them go. Yeah, it's a really good point. I think the next one was, and I like this one, to be fair. I'm a big fan of this in my own sort of role plays and coaching. So failing to align the training with real world scenarios. So because that's not helpful either, if it's not reminiscent of what that person's actually going to be going through, but at the right stage as well. That you don't want to give someone a high difficulty role play that is low skill at this moment in time, because it's just not going to be right for them. Like, I think training should be challenging, but at the point that you make it too difficult for someone, then the learning stops.
Yeah.
It stops. Like, you've got to make sure that it's challenging, it's stretching them, but it's not a stretch too far, because then that's where you get disheartenment. That's where you get people feeling insecure. I'm not cut out for this, but it's not that. the training hasn't been aligned
Yeah.
well enough to where they're up to. Like if we've got a role which is the 360 sales cycle, we probably just want to focus first and foremost on actually the opener and getting through an initial objection. And that's what we're focusing on.
Yeah.
And we build it up to get to that point where they can actually close. But that might take us months.
Yeah. No,
months, I would say. Yeah.
I really love that in terms of trying to replicate that, but also thinking, where's this person in their training, Mike? It's a fantastic point. My point number 3, so we touched on cultural integration and the importance of it, but it's just, what not to do is to neglect the importance of that. And I think back to, and this goes not just within sales, I think of my previous environments in terms of, either playing sport, or like when I've, joined a new football team or a new cricket team or new rugby team, just something like that, or, when you've joined up to that kind of environment, you cannot underestimate the importance of community and the importance of getting people feeling welcomed, getting people feeling like another one of us, right? So like we can't neglect that team building phase. We can't neglect, leaving Georgia on her own at lunchtime and not, showing us some of where the cool spots are to get, the best hot chocolate and sandwich or something like that. We can't neglect, creating that kind of environment where, we play table tennis and not letting Mike have a go on the table, so we can't, there's just so many different, we got to get people feeling like they are part of us, part of the team, working towards this goal. And there's nothing
Comes
more
back to the leaders, doesn't
yeah,
it?
absolutely. There's nothing more isolating than turning up for a role day 1, day 2, and you haven't been able to make any friends. You haven't felt like anyone's made an effort with you. And these are things that are very simple, that anyone should be, striving for. So, do not neglect that as my point number 3.
Cool. Cool. And then the final point on this, in terms of common mistakes to avoid, amongst all that, which you said, a lot of it comes down to communication, but is rushing them into selling without any actual proper training. It does go back to the training point, in the sense of setting expectations that are challenging, that are in line with milestones for whatever it is that you're using, but aren't too far ahead of where the person actually is, because then they're just going to keep forward on the face. Now, if that person is behind where they should be, the minimum expectations, you've got a different issue then. Maybe there's capability, they're not right. But we do see this a lot, don't we? Going back to the interview that I had this morning, this was part and parcel of the issue. She'd been onboarded, hadn't really been given any training. Targets on day 3 that she had to hit, and didn't actually know what targets were for, why they were there, hadn't been taught how to sell the products, and the byproduct of a bad onboarding is person resigns or they get sacked, and that's bad for all parties. For all parties. Now, there will be scenarios whereby the onboarding's great, but it's just not the right fit. We deal with people. You can never be 100% on any recruit. You can't be. It doesn't exist. There's always a risk element to it, but you do your best to mitigate the risk through the recruitment process, interview process, and then like the onboarding. But setting people up to fail by not setting them up properly is arguably the biggest mistake of all.
That's absolutely love that, Mike.
So it is your turn.
It is
your tip. What is your sales tip for this week?
I'm gonna perhaps set the scene here. So I don't know I don't believe that we've actually discussed this, but I was thinking back as to what are some of the things that we've that I could have included, and it just brought me down to closing and the importance of it, right? And I'm gonna set the scene here. So I had a really, really good candidate, for a role. They were through to final interview back in last week, and they were just very excited for the role. The interview went well, and at the end of the interview, law would have it, you would close, you would let the hiring manager know, you'd let any person who's part of the interview process know from your end that you're keen, you're interested in the role, and you want to ask that direct question as to, what concern have you got? What would hold you back from offering me this job, right? So it's a most world-class basic that if you don't do in sales, you always want to come across as if you're someone who's going to close, not afraid to ask for the business. So interview happens, candidate calls me, Sam, the interview was amazing. I really, really enjoyed it. My question was, great, did you remember to close? Wouldn't you know it? They didn't close, right? And did they get the job? Unfortunately, they didn't get the job. And what was part of that feedback? Sam, we thought that came across really well. There's a lot more feedback that came towards that, but one of the things that they didn't do on the day was we felt like they didn't close us enough. We didn't sense that real hunger, that drive, that desire for that role. And these are things that we can impact directly as salespeople. And it's not whether the role is a sales role, whether the role is a clinical position, whether the role is any role which is commercial. If you've enjoyed any interview, and if you are interested in that position, and if you would like that job, and if you would like to work within this organization, how you say it, how direct that is, depends on you and your personality. But we can never walk away from that opportunity without making it clear how you feel, So, and I think that is a world-class basic that anyone in sales needs to have consistently to be successful. So, yeah, it's just something that is so basic that I thought I'm pretty confident that we've done this, but if not, I just wanted to use the opportunity to reiterate that, because it can make all the difference for you in that interview as a salesperson, to ask for the business, to ask for the opportunity, and to close.
Yeah. Otherwise, you just come across as an order taker.
Yeah.
At the end of it, I don't know why you wouldn't close an interview. Why'd you do all that prep and then not ask feedback on how you've done and give a good impression and try and discuss any concerns? Yeah, it's an absolute world-class basic, and it could be the difference between you getting the job or getting at the next stage in the process. We will also get to showcase your objection handling skills. Well, cool. Well, thank you everyone. Thanks for listening to that episode. Hope there was good value across this mini series. We really enjoyed doing it. And yeah, thank you for listening. Have a great week, and we will be back again next week. Bye for now. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Recruitment Roundup podcast. Thank you very much for listening to the show, to watching the show. We really appreciate your support. It would be absolutely fantastic if you could give us a rating on Apple, on Spotify, give us a review. Any feedback really helps and is massively appreciated. So thank you once again for joining us, and we will hopefully see you again next week.